Hello and welcome. In this short webinar, we'll go through some of the most common questions about Kobi Signs and Stripes, along with a few practical tips to help you work faster and more efficiently. A quick note before we begin. The examples in this video use the Slovenian library. However, the same principles apply to all libraries. The interface and descriptions will appear in the language selected during installation. This session is useful for both new users and experienced engineers who want to get more out of the tool. So let's get started. First, let's talk about hatch colours. One of the most common questions we get is whether hatch colours, or the layers they are placed on, can be customised. When you use the Insert Sign Holder command, you'll find additional options in the bottom left corner under Settings. In this dialog, the option Create Separate Layer for each hatch colour is enabled by default. This means that when a sign is inserted, separate layers are automatically created for each colour. If you prefer not to use this behaviour, you can simply disable the option. However, most users find it useful to have each colour on its own layer. If we now open the Layer Manager, we can see these layers clearly organised. White hatches are placed on the KSS_white layer, black hatches are placed with KSS_black, and similarly for red, dark blue, and the other colours. This makes it very easy to modify colours. For example, if you already use specific colour standards in your drawings, you can simply change the layer colour. If I change the colour of the KSS red layer to a darker red, all red elements in the drawing will update immediately. So instead of editing individual blocks, you simply adjust the layer. Now, behind the scenes, these colours are defined in a configuration file called Kobi Traffic Signs Layer Color Settings.json. This is one of the JSON files located in App Data, Roaming, KobiLabs. Inside the Signs and Stripes folder, you'll find CAD blocks, traffic signs, and these JSON configuration files. In this Layer Color Settings file, we have already defined those layers with their names and assigned colours, but you can also edit them if needed. You can rename layers, change colour values, and add new colours. For example, if you don't like a layer name, you can simply change it here, and it will also update in the Layer Manager. You can also add your own colours. As you can see, there is already a wide range of predefined colours, including multiple shades of yellow and green. If you have your own custom blocks with colours not included in the list, you can easily add them. Copy an existing entry, paste it at the end, define a new name, assign the RGB colour values. Just be careful, JSON files are sensitive. Make sure all commas, brackets, and formatting are correct. If you prefer, you can also send us your custom blocks or colour requirements. We'll be happy to add them to the library and provide you with an updated version. That covers the topic of colours, which we know is important based on your feedback. Next, let's look at supplementary plates. We often get questions about how to edit them. Let's look at an example. In the Slovenian standard, the supplementary plates are part of Group 4000, though naming varies for different countries. We can choose from various templates and adjust the height and size before inserting. For now, we'll just place this sign in the drawing. This is a Slovenian sign that says Accept Local Traffic. Once inserted, we can select the plate and see that it's a dynamic block. Using grips, we can adjust width and height. The dimensions can also be edited in the Properties panel. The text itself should not be edited in the Properties panel. Instead, double-click the sign to open the Enhanced Attribute Editor. You can also open the Enhanced Attribute Editor by running the command EATT-edit and selecting the sign. To open the multi-line editor, click the three dots next to the value field. Here you can edit the text freely. We will now change the text to say Except for landowners. You can now move to a new line by pressing Enter. Once the text is updated, you may notice that the plate size no longer fits. This can be fixed by adjusting the text height or resizing the plate. You can edit the sign dimensions directly in the Properties panel by changing width, height, text height, or by using the grips. For example, we'll set the height here to 1.5. Now, keep in mind that in the sign holder manager, the section scale is set to 5. So a value of 1.5 actually corresponds to 0.3 meters. Keep this in mind when adjusting dimensions. The position of the text can also be adjusted by using grips. As you can see, you can very easily adjust and edit the text on supplementary signs like this one. Next, let's take a look at reports. We'll run traffic signs report and generate a table for all the signs in this drawing. The report language depends on the library used. In our case, it's in Slovenian, but for you, it will match your selected language. Here, we see all inserted signs along with their sizes. You can see that the report already includes the sign dimensions, including width and height of our previously created supplementary sign. Because this is a dynamic block, everything is linked. If I go back, edit the text again, adjust the size, and reposition the text, and then update the report, the table updates automatically, including the new dimensions and the sign preview. Keep in mind that text has to be edited through Attribute Editor. You open it up by double-clicking the sign or by running the EATT edit command. Let's look at how you can edit multiple sign holders at once. We often receive questions about how to attach signs to an alignment. This is very useful when working with multiple signs. For example, in this case, the signs are not attached to any alignment. I want to attach all the traffic signs into this alignment right here. Instead of editing them one by one, I'll use Edit Multiple Sign Holders tool. You can find this tool in the Kobi Signs and Stripes ribbon. In this dialog, I will select the option All, so all of my traffic signs will get attached to the selected alignment. Here, under Parameters, I'll choose an alignment. I can do this either from the list or directly from the drawing. I confirm my choice by selecting Apply and OK. Now you can see that the stationing has been added to all the signs in the drawing. If I now update the report, the alignment name and station values are included. Here you can see the name of the alignment to which the sign is attached, as well as the position left or right and the station value. This tool can save a lot of time when managing larger projects. Now let's look at two new features introduced in the latest version. The first one allows you to define stationing on a regular polyline, and the second one improves sign placement. Let's look at an example of how they work. I'll draw a simple polyline. Now let's say I want to insert a traffic sign and attach it to this polyline. Previously, when attaching signs to a polyline, the starting station was always 0. Now, during insertion, you can define the starting station. We'll insert a traffic sign using the Insert Sign Holder command. For this example, we'll just select a stop sign. The command line asks us to select a polyline, alignment, or feature line to align the sign to. We'll select this polyline. In the command line, I now have the option Enter Starting Station. I'll enter a value, for example 500. Now, when the sign is placed, that starting station is taken into account. This makes working with simple polylines much more flexible. Another improvement is more precise sign placement. I'll insert a new sign and select an alignment. Now, the command line asks us to specify insertion point or station/reference. I'll choose station. This opens a dialog where I can define the station and offset. For example, I'll set the offset to 6 meters and lock it. Now, as I move the cursor, the sign stays at 6 meters from the alignment. I can click to define the station or enter it precisely. For example, I will round this value to 100. The sign is now placed exactly where I want it. You can also reverse the workflow. I will repeat the process and insert a different traffic sign from the library and select the polyline. I'll again choose the option to define its station. This time, I want to place the sign at station 90. I will lock the station. Now you can see that I can move left and right along the polyline at station 90 and freely adjust the offset. The offset can also be defined precisely. Negative values will place the sign on the left, positive on the right side of the polyline. For example, we'll set the offset to -6 meters. And this is it. This gives you precise and flexible control over your sign placement. Next, a quick update on road markings report. For line markings, we've added the option to display start station and end station in the report. I'll insert a line marking along the polyline. For the purposes of this example, I will just select one from our templates. Now, when I generate a road markings report, you can see additional columns with start station and end station included. We've added this based on common user feedback. If you don't need them, you can disable them. You can find the additional settings for the road markings report in the bottom left corner. By selecting the Edit Columns button, you can control which columns you want to include in the report. So if we uncheck End Station and Start Station and insert the report again, you can see that it is now shown without those columns. These additional settings give you full control over what is shown in the report. For the final part, let's look at how you can place a traffic sign onto an existing object, such as a custom pole or a streetlight. This is fully supported. The only requirement is that your drawing already contains the necessary blocks: a top view, a section view, and a 3D model. On the screen, you can see an example. Now let's insert a sign onto this streetlight. I'll start with the Insert Sign Holder command and select a sign. For example, this sign. Before placing it, I'll open additional settings. In this dialog, you'll see options for top view, section view, 3D view. By default, the software uses a standard pole representation, but instead, we can assign our own custom blocks. So here, I'll switch the option to block, and then select the appropriate block from the drawing. Here is a list of all the blocks in the drawing, so I have to find my streetlight. In my case, that is lighting street top view. I then repeat the same process for section view and 3D view. For each part, I select the correct view of the streetlight. Once that's done, I can confirm with OK and proceed with Insert. Now I'll place the sign into the drawing. You can immediately see that the sign is now mounted on our custom object. If I switch to a 3D view, you'll see that the sign is correctly attached to the 3D model of the streetlight. At this point, we can still adjust the position. Using Sign Holder Manager, I can define the exact height of the sign. For example, I'll set the top elevation to 2 meters. And of course, you can adjust this further as needed. All standard parameters remain available, just like with any other sign holder. This concludes our overview of the main updates in Kobi Signs and Stripes. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to contact us via our website or directly at support@KobiLabs.com. Thank you for your time.